Well, good morning, sunshines. It's actually the sun isn't shining at where I'm at. Anyways, but hopefully it will shine this afternoon. But it'll shine in your faces today. And anyways, that was kind of corny. But anyways, it's 9:59. I'm a little bit ahead of myself, and so we'll allow people to come in and hopefully be with us for this session. And the question of the day is, why is the government lying to every person in Canada? And that's one of the questions. I doubt we can have 50,000 answers for, but that will be able to actually pinpoint what their underlying reasons are. Anyways, I'm going to play something for you in the meantime for the newcomers so that they know what the CPU is about. And if you've forgotten, it might bring back some ideas, in regards to the CPU, why we're here. We are solutions based. Okay, it's about actually bringing forth a viable solution to all Canadians and Indigenous peoples in Canada. And once we do this, everybody can do it worldwide. So it's not just about us, it's about the entire planet. So we'll be right back. Thank you. Oh.
Nicole Lebrasseur, a dedicated legal researcher with over 15 years of experience, proudly serves as the founder and CEO of the Canadian People's Union NFP. Alongside her on the board of directors are Denis Lamothe, CFO, and Barb Garlow, a respected director and member of the Six Nations. Together, they stand united in their mission at the CPU, an organization unlike any other, representing informed Canadian citizens and Indigenous peoples from coast to coast. The CPU's goal is simple yet profound: to challenge the status quo and advocate for our collective civil and political rights reclamation, a legacy eroded by political oversight and global pressures. Today, we at the CPU seek to ignite a spark of change, progress, and a reimagined democracy. Our mission is to illuminate the role of citizens within our political system, expose the international principles Canada has neglected, and introduce a viable solution for reform. The core of our critique lies in the partocracy system, a 19th century political framework where power resides with parties over citizens. This system has failed to evolve with societal needs, overshadowing citizens' voices with party interests. Additionally, despite the passage into the 21st century, Canada's status as an undecolonized constitutional monarchy starkly contrasts with the principles of a true democracy, where citizens should be collective sovereigns and actively participate in decision-making processes. We propose a transformative shift towards true democracy, prioritizing the collective voice and ensuring adherence to national and international human rights laws, a sector alarmingly ignored by our current leaders. Canada must fulfill its commitments to the conventions, treaties, statutes, and the International Bill of Rights, including the Syracuse and Johannesburg Principles. These frameworks, demanding that restrictions on freedoms be lawful, necessary, proportionate, and non-discriminatory, are foundational yet overlooked in our domestic policies, leading to confusion, unnecessary spending, and detrimental health outcomes, to name a few. The disparity between our international promises and domestic practices calls for immediate action. As Canadians, we must bridge this gap for legal compliance and to uphold democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. The CPU stands ready to lead this charge, advocating for Canada to become a global beacon of justice and human dignity. At this crossroads, we demand the opportunity to redefine governance to truly serve the people. The Powershift to Freedom project represents a crucial step towards embedding our collective rights firmly within our Constitution, shifting political power back to citizens and Indigenous peoples. This shift is not just a dream, it's a necessity, and we need your passion, voice, and commitment to democracy to make it happen. Your engagement is vital. Join us by endorsing the Convention of Consent, a living document that becomes legally binding with the support of 51% of citizens in 7 provinces. This convention is a step towards a brighter, more democratic future where past injustices are lessons learned, not repeated. Citizens 15 years old and over can sign at the cpu.ca. Together, we can usher in a new era of governance where corruption and unaccountability are relics of the past and our rights are protected and cherished. Let's make this vision a reality.
Oh, okay. I'm back. So, anyways, that was it in regards to the CPU. And yes, we can make our dreams a reality, as long as the Canadian citizens get on board. I've been screaming this since we've created, we found the solution 2014. And I've been screaming about this, and people don't seem to realize that time has run out, basically, but there's never time never runs out for doing the right thing. So when we talk about time has run out, in the sense that to be able to prepare everybody to be able to do this properly, in the sense where everybody, every single Canadian citizen and child is educated in our human rights and everything else. It's just, we were hopeful that everybody would want to get on board with this and truly bring about a direct democracy. And then we found out, well, the word democracy has been bastardized practically worldwide, and how they managed to do this was just amazing with double speak. So we learned about double speak. We learned about all kinds of things. Like, every day we're learning something at the CPU, every day, because we're looking for things, and we're looking for solutions. We're looking for, how do we do this? How can we fix this? How can we get people on board? Well, I'll tell you, the woke truly threw a wrench on that socket. I'll tell you that. But the woke need to truly awaken now, not be in a coma. They need to get out of their woke coma and come out of this and help us, instead of being a detriment to everybody else, to an unbelievable agenda that they haven't seen coming, and they're being used. So everybody is being used, everyone. And we're seeing it over and over and over again. The Indigenous nations being used to hate everybody, the people being used to hate Indigenous peoples, the jealousy, the hatred, oh my gosh, the drugs being used to entice and to subjugate everybody, and everybody falling for it. Oh yeah, we'll be able to smoke pot. For me, unless you're sick and you need that to be able to alleviate the pain, which is better than opium, actually, in my book, hey, knock yourself out. You have to be able to use something decent that will numb the pain until it's cured or whatever, or but at the same time, I don't know if you're like me, but if somebody's high, what's the point in talking to them? There's no point. So how can you speak to people who are always high? Now they want, in Toronto, they are allowing drinking in parks. People want it. Seriously? all of the sexual abuses that's going to happen, the child molestations, the beatings, all hell breaking loose. They want this. And the people who are cheering yay have no idea that it's to incarcerate you. It's to bring our country down to a third world country level where there's chaos everywhere. And why is chaos being created? Chaos is created exactly for that purpose in third world countries, because those countries would never have been third world countries. It was a manifestation by the rich, the elite, to keep the people down and dumb them down. Don't give them a good education. Don't give them all the food they need. Let them struggle. And that's how evil wins. When you're looking at good and evil, there's an evil consciousness and a good consciousness. And they have to keep everybody in an evil consciousness to keep your vibrations down. How can you vibrate? When you vibrate high, your mind works. Everything works. Now I've got somebody trying to invade my space here. Hang on. Get down. Get down. Get down. Okay. Before she turns off my computer. Okay, go away, go away. Four-legged females are not easy to handle. Move. So, anyways, to come back to that, the seriousness of this is African people would have been able to enjoy all of their potential and their natural resources and everything else, and the same with the indigenous nations if they were made to partake in half of their natural resources at least, and not just being told about it. Now we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then not even do it like our countries have done, depleting everybody, even us. We are the shareholders, co-owners of what Canada owns, the country, the people, along with the indigenous nations here in Canada. The natural resources belong to all of the peoples. And the ones that haven't been negotiated will still belong to the indigenous nations. So we need to stop the hate. We need to stop the fear, because it's fear is what they're creating. Fear in losing your home. Oh, are we going to be kicked out? No, there's no such thing as being able to kick anybody out of a country other than what the governments are doing themselves. When the people rule together, it's what is needed. If the people rule together, we shouldn't have any issues, would we? We'd all be, first of all, human beings, equal in everything. All equals. Now in Canada, it's different because we came here afterwards. We're all immigrants. Most of us were born, a lot of us were born here, but it doesn't matter. But the indigenous nations still have the rights to what they were promised, to what they were told. Do you like being lied to? No. So, hey, fair is fair. So in Canada, you have the Canadian citizens, and then you have the indigenous peoples, period. Nothing else. Doesn't matter what kind of what you classify yourself as a minority. You're still a Canadian citizen, and you outweigh the indigenous nations in size. So, okay, hang on. Jeez. Move. Okay, there we go. Sorry, people. Is this Monday? But anyways, the sad reality is that everybody's been cheated in Canada, especially the indigenous peoples, the indigenous nations, and they've been separated on purpose so that they can, be made to, how can I say, to be used against one another. But they have to come together as one, just like Canadian citizens need to come together as one. Otherwise, there will be no solution. Because as long as we're fighting, there can't be nothing will happen. So we need to stop their divide and conquer. Yes, Brian, absolutely, divide and conquer. And we need to be smarter than them. So when will Canadians and the Indigenous peoples of Canada become more intelligent than those that are suppressing us? We have all the brains. The brains are all there. The solution's there. We just need to bring it forward. Now, Mike sent me a little Instagram video, and I had seen this. It was in regards to the MAID program and Jordan Peterson's interview. So I don't know if a lot of you have listened to this, but I want to just bring back to the fact that if you're tired about everything that's happening in this country, if you're wondering about the lies the governments are feeding us, and if you think that maybe the government, why would the government lie to me? Well, you need to you need to wake the heck up. Okay. They've been lying to us forever. And it's up to the people to take our power, because we are the power in Canada. We just need to take it. Okay. Legally. Hang on there. I've got cat hairs on my hands. So anyways, we need to take it legally. And there's only one way of doing this, and it's for the people to sign their Citizens Convention of Consent and become a member of the CPU, so that we can show, how big we can get. It's not just about all showing up at Parliament and having rallies and things like that. You need something in writing. You need something legal, not just oh well, here's a picture and this is the amount of people. You can't take that to court, people. You can't take protests to court in that sense, to say, oh well, look at this. Oh yeah, well, you can talk about it and mention it, but does it have any legal standing? No. You need something on paper. Okay. That's how the ball rolls. And you need some proof, and everybody needs to sign. You need to say what you want. So, like, and you need to know exactly what's coming down when the government is offering you something. You need to be informed. There's all of these things that need to happen, and that we need to teach our kids real fast. Okay. So that's why the CPU is such an important space for everybody. A lot of people have not a clue what we're about, and they'll say all kinds of things. Oh, CPU hasn't done anything yet. We can't do any. We've been stressing this since 2014. We need the people to stand with the CPU. The one solution that will help save this country is being ignored. Why? All the know-it-alls who think they know it all. The law is the law. Whether Canada ignores it and the lawyers in Canada ignore it, that's their problem, not the CPU's problem. We need to make that count. It's not the problem of the Canadian citizens. If they need to be re-educated in law, well, they need to be re-educated in law. But once enough people mention it, once we're enough to be able to, hang on here, just gonna shut that off for a minute. But anyways, we need to be able to have enough power, and it's the power is in the people to say, yes, I've signed my Citizens Convention of Consent. Yes, I've joined the CPU. Yes, I support the CPU. And yes, I go and promote the CPU everywhere else, because it's our only solution. Promoting anything else in the meantime gets us nowhere. This has to be a one-sided conversation, period, right across Canada. One-sided, that's it. No other. There's just all kinds of things happening. But if you want to stop things like MAID, if you want to stop things, everybody has the right to what they want. And just because things are being said about certain things doesn't mean that it's right for everybody. Some people will want it, others will not want it. Some will be against it, some will be for it. And it's not about, everybody has equal rights in Canada or worldwide. We should have equal rights, okay, as human beings. We are first human beings. Everything else divides us. Everything else divides us. But first of all, we're human beings. We all have consciousness. Okay. So if somebody wants MAID, but they know exactly what's going to happen to them. They still want it. That's their choice. Okay. And yes, some of the stuff is horrific. uh I know exactly, when you're listening to this. I'm going to play it. I'm going to play the clip, and the way it's done. But hey, euthanasia, you know, does this happen without hurting somebody or suffering somehow? Or, you can't just kill off a body like that and not expect that there's repercussions or things that come along with it. It's not the thing that does scare me, though. It's, yes, MAID. What they're talking about is that it's drowning people. It's drowning the lungs. And I just came out of the hospital, if you remember, for a while there. My air, the air in my bloodstream was only at 66. When I called the ambulance, I still had all my marbles. I was really awake and conscious, and but at 66 air in my blood gases. And so anyways, by the time I got to the hospital, they had given me prednisone and put me on oxygen. So I was able to make it there. But the thing is this is water on the lungs, and water on the lungs is emphysema. Not emphysema. What I'm saying is angina attacks. Okay, people get angina attacks from water on the lungs. There's a lot of things that are can be the reason for water on the lungs. I had bronchitis. I also have bronchial asthma, and I have COPD. And if you have heart disease or kidney disease, or you go sepsis, you'll have water on the lungs. And that is scary, because the when I decided to call the ambulance, Dennis says, "Well, I'll drive you," and I thought, I couldn't talk much, but I said, "No, just I'm gonna call the ambulance," because I was starting to go into a panic mode. Okay, when you can't breathe, and I for the last 24 hours, I had been psyching myself up. So, okay, just breathe, don't panic, breathe. It'll get better tomorrow. It might get better tomorrow, and just breathe and just breathe. you know, don't panic. And then I could see myself going to the hospital with Dennis, and then having a panic attack because somebody cut us off or whatever. And I would not come back from that. I knew that I would not come back from a panic attack at that point. So, anyways, I called the ambulance and I walked myself out. I was on the deck when they came in. They came to get me, and then they freaked out when they saw that my air was 66. And I said, "Well, what's that?" Ta-da! So now I know that usually when you go below 90, you have to get yourself to the hospital. The last time in the hospital when I went in, I was at 80, but they really didn't explain anything to me. So in regards to that 80, if I would have known, I would have watched more. But this time I was down to 66. So, anyways, when you go down to 66 like that, there's things that happens to your blood gases. And the irony of that is that when I went in, my blood gases were better than the day I left. I went in on the 10th, and on the 15th, they took another test for my blood gases, and they were critical high, or, extremely low, but critical high. What did they give me in the hospital? Because the day that I got there, they took the test. I had a few that were out of whack. Well, one really was out of whack, and the rest were fine. By the time I came out of the hospital, they wouldn't allow me out of the hospital unless I left with an oxygen tank. And I remember my blood pressure going sky high all of a sudden, and they were having a hard time bringing it down. So all of the stuff that they gave me actually threw my blood gases out of whack. So now I got to figure out, okay, what medication did they give me? Why did this happen? So when you're looking at MAID and what they give you in hospitals, and how they're doing this MAID thing. Yes, it's horrific, and yes, getting, how can I say, drowning is a scary thing. And if they're right, it could take 24 hours for them to do this. That person, yeah, it is cruel and unusual punishment. And my question was, how do they put people in a coma, an induced coma? Now we need to look into this, people. How do they put people in an induced coma? Is it the same thing? Somebody's saying, what does our future look like? If the people do not take over and demand our power so that we have veto power over whatever our government wants to do, they'd have to come to us before they do anything. Not on all things, but the major things anyway. They'd have to come to us, like what's happened here in the last 10 years or even before that. They should have been coming to us since 1982. We had that right in 1982. They only needed to do one thing. Well, two things. A referendum on the Indigenous side and a referendum on the Canadian people's side. They did not do that. So we're still technically under colonialism. And as long as we have Charles there, we're still a colonial country. The people do not have rights. They say the people have rights, but we have no right to go to remove them. We have no right to protect ourselves from them. And we have no right to be able to charge them criminally, even though we could try and we can file. It's the Attorney General that decides who they're going to charge. Are they going to charge their own political party and lock themselves up? What do you think, people? Nice little scenario, huh? So anyways, I'm going to look for this clip that I sent that I sent myself. Here we go. There, Instagram. I'm going to go to the Instagram. Oh, reload. Okay. It's saying it's not working. Okay, so let's go to Jordan Peterson. Okay. I've got it here. Okay, so we're going to play this clip for you. And I'm going to just put the CC in French for our French viewers. Auto translate. But we need to do something, people. You can't just put this off. And we need to be able to go to everybody in our communities. We need to get this done. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. Share screen. There we go. I'm just going to make it bigger here first. Okay, share. And we're going to make this bigger. There we go.
It's been known for a very long time that pubescent girls in particular are sensitive to psychological epidemics. So there's a literature on that going back about 300 years. So that's how long the literature has been around. And that was Freudian hysteria, right, back in the late 1800s. And it just morphs into various forms, cutting and anorexia and bulimia, and well, now the gender transformation pathology. But I suspect that the next thing that's going to happen in Canada, when the gender furor wears off, which it'll probably burn itself out in about 3 or 4 years, that would be my guess. But if the MAID people have their way, I've already seen, what would you say, romanticized death encounters distributed online. And so I think that'll be the next thing that'll confront us in Canada.
Well, here's what's really troubling about that, and nobody seems to know this. So I'd love the opportunity to talk about it because it's really concerning to me. So it's not only that it's MAID, people don't understand how MAID works. There's the track 1, the track 2, you know, the immediate, the 90-day to end of life and all of that. And yes, they stayed the bill till 2027 to the next vote,
Yeah,
right? So
right.
that's all great. So technically mental health's not included. But what I found out yesterday that really, really bothered me was the mechanism of the actual procedure. So there's this drug called sodium theropental, and it's made in Italy, okay? So it's used by anesthesiologists. And the anesthesiologist that came forward with this at this testimony was, this individual had been an anesthesiologist for 25 years. He came forward with the Senate subcommittee talking about this with MAID and his concerns with it, because MAID is being seen as compassionate and empathetic in care. So what he did is,
You know, the Nazi euthanasia program started with compassion and care.
I'm so glad you said that, because when I got to do trigonometry, we went to the war museums, and what terrified me the most was walking through the World War II portion and seeing the same verbiage.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, definitely.
People were telling me I was going crazy. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
No, it's the same thing.
It's identical.
Yeah, it's exactly the same
The
thing.
mentally ill, the people that are, yeah. So what's
People
really,
too distressed to live.
Thank you.
Right, and the categories keep expanding. Yeah.
and that's what we're seeing, the expansion. So the sodium theopental, which was really wild about it, is this anesthesiologist was like, it's going missing. We don't have a lot of it. We can't get it anymore all of a sudden over this past couple of years. And so he started researching it. Well, it's made in Italy, and Italy falls under the EU. And under the EU laws, you can never make a drug that is going to be used for execution. But Canada, in North America, the United States and Canada had been using it for execution, in America for death penalty. So they finally caught on to that. And anesthesiologists use it as one of the first drugs pushed to put you under. But here's what's really crazy is they said, well, there's got to be more to this. So they did it's a Freedom of Information Act with the NPR, with a journalist, and they got over 300 autopsies of individuals who were executed in America. And they didn't just get the autopsy kind of overview, they were given in-depth files. And when they went through them, 85% of those bodies showed a 2 times level increase of water in the lungs. So what was happening is, when this drug is pushed, it causes a drowning, and it's stated as akin to dying by waterboarding or drowning. Meaning, the reason people in Canada who are given MAID seem peaceful is because they're giving a paralytic first. So they're completely paralyzed, then this drug is administered as one of the 4, and they start drowning to death. Okay? So that means that when it's done by IV, it takes 10 to 15 minutes. That person could be literally drowning. Well, they're drowning to death, but they could be screaming if they weren't under a paralytic. They're drowning to death. We waterboarded people in Guantanamo. There's a reason we had to stop. It falls under cruel and unusual punishment. Yet we are having people like Dying with Dignity say that this falls under compassion and empathy, when you're drowning people chemically to death.
You found this out at the Senate hearing?
No, I found this out yesterday when the Senate hearing was given to me and the transcripts were given to me. It was Dr. Joel B. Zivok, Associate Professor of Emory University and School of Medicine, the Vancouver Coastal Health Authority. So what's been happening is that case I was telling you about, Fraser Health is withholding the families. They can't see her autopsy. They're not allowing it. They won't give access. The police have tried to get it.
This is the same case.
This is the same, yeah. So they will not give it to the family. So Fraser Health is abetting, like literally lying and holding information back. So what's wild about this, though, is Dying with Dignity says that this is a painless death. Well, if you take MAID orally, it takes between 30 minutes to 24 hours. 24 hours of active drowning while you're under a paralytic. So the autopsies are showing that you actually drowned to death, and you're waterboarded to death within your own body, and you can't move or do anything about it. And that's how Dying with Dignity and the Canadian government has disguised MAID, while they're offering it to Canadian veterans instead of treatment, so they don't have to pay for their pensions, so they don't have to pay for their health care, the same way they don't have to do with
that's part
their
of the
elders.
slippery slope,
Of course
isn't
it
it?
is.
Because it makes such... Well, I saw the other day, now a month ago probably, I think it was a Japanese philosopher who said that it was incumbent on the elderly to submit themselves to government-assisted dying because of the benefits on the cost-saving side.
Are you struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns this year? The IRS is actively escalating collections by adding
Okay, we're gonna stop this
20,000
right
new
now.
agents. In these challenging times, your best
So we're going to, there we go. And we're gonna come right back there. There we are. You know, this is really sad what's happening out there, because what we're seeing, and this one gentleman in a video that I was watching again in Chicago was saying that, you know, they'll probably be at war by this summer with the migrants, illegal immigration, immigrants that are there, that are welcome there, and being, you know, given more opportunities than their own veterans that are. They've been given this huge building, and the people from Chicago are not, the taxpayers from Chicago are not even allowed in to go and see this building, and they were kicked out. And the veterans, they were supplied all of these buses, and one of the veterans lost his fingers because he was cold. He was in a tent, not a block from there. Okay, so he was in a tent, and he went to, they have these buses where the illegal immigrants can go and sit down to warm up. They have what they call heat buses. So and these buses were empty, and this veteran went, and he ended up, they would not allow him, a veteran, a US veteran, was not allowed to sit in that bus, even though it was empty, to warm himself up. He lost his finger. And I'm not quite sure if it's one or more. I'd have to go back and listen, because I listened to so many. But the thing is it's horrific. And what they were saying there was that even the Black community, you know, is being replaced by illegal immigrants. That the United States government is actually allowing in and busing to different cities. This is replacement. What they're doing everywhere in our developed countries is replacing us, placing us into third world countries. It's a lot easier when you look at the United Nations global goals. Now, the United Nations has been taken over, just like our government has been taken over, just like the United States government has been taken over. And somebody asked me about, you know, are we going to have referendums like in Switzerland? When they give you referendums that the government can control and not the people, okay, and that there's things that, like in Switzerland, the people are not allowed to make decisions on banking, on military, or anything like that. They only get to make decisions on how they rule themselves in their prison yard. So right now, right across Canada, Canadians are incarcerated with privileges, okay? And that's what they've done worldwide since they declared in 1960 that all the peoples have the right to be free. What did the governments do? What did the elite do? They infiltrated our governments with people they bought and paid for to make sure that that does not happen. So they bastardized democracy worldwide. And that's what happened. So now they're trying to replace us. Things like MAID. I'm going to be doing another video later in regards to how they spray Six Nations territory, and every year for gypsy moth. And there's an orange rust substance that they spray. It instantly kills the trees. Okay, the leaves on the trees. It killed my lilac bushes. It killed half of the raspberry plants. So now people are breathing this in on Six Nations territory. They're doing this, you know, wherever the gypsy moth are. That's what their claims are. But if you remember I would swear that this is Agent Orange, because Canada used Agent Orange to, you know, what they attacked the people in Vietnam with. Okay, so but at a higher increased dose, I should say, in Vietnam. But here in Canada, they were using it to make roads in the forests. That's how they killed trees, to be able to down them, like fry everything up. It's horrific. I've been saving this for a couple of years now. I remember one year I was trying to get a sample, and I ended up getting sick, and the sample, didn't get done. But this time, we need to find out what they're spraying the indigenous peoples with and destroying them. And then we also have what we call cloud seeding. We also have what they call sun dimming. Okay, and you can guarantee they say, oh, there's going to be an influx of COVID, excuse me, but really it's respiratory problems with kids with asthma and all of these things whenever they release this stuff. So they know when it's going to happen. And that's done by who? The United States, the sun dimming, with a gentleman, a Canadian, who actually created it. In Canada now, we're going to have lettuce in our stores that are pre-vaccinated, so that when we eat it, we don't know we're being vaccinated. Is this the Canada you want? Now you've got money problems. Come on, we're going to waterboard you to death until you die. Well, choose your poison. You want to give up, or you want to make this better for our kids? A lot of times I would have wanted to give up. I had 3 opportunities to give up. Just check out. Only had a matter of minutes, and the other one, well, matter of an hour. Well, an hour and 45 minutes. So, I could have checked out, but I can't, because we're 38 million people here. 8 billion people on this planet, getting overtaken by not just a handful, but a few thousand people. Why? Through lies, ignorance, drugs. So, is that the future you want? A real future would be one where the people rule, we're all equals. There's no more division other than Indigenous peoples and Canadian citizens here in Canada, because they have rights too. They were lied to, we were lied to. But let's show some respect at least and honor these people. And these people need to also honor Canadian citizens for trying to fight for them. Because if the government had it, they'd be long gone, had their way, if not for others standing up for them. So now, what's happening in our countries? They want us to move away. The doctors are moving away. My family doctor is swamped right now because 3 doctors left. And now she's got to take over all those patients. The doctors don't even know what they're giving to the people. And then, like with me, my blood pressure went sky high. I was actually better when my blood gases were better than when I went in, than when I left. So I was actually, in one sense, my blood gases, were much better when I went into the hospital than when I left 5 days later. What are they putting in this medication? The hospitals can't test all the medications and see what's in there before they give it to the patients. That was one problem that I was seeing when I was working on my children's hospital for cancer treatment. So what do? We need to be the change. We have to be the change. And taking action is the only way to get change. So, the only thing that can really stop evil from putting this planet into complete chaos through negative consciousness, bad things happening everywhere, nobody vibrating high anymore, nobody happy anymore. Except for these creeps who are laughing at everyone. They are laughing at us, people. Are you tired of being laughed at? Now it's our turn to laugh at them, because we do have a solution. We have one that if everybody stood behind the CPU and with the CPU side by side in our truth, that yes, we want everybody to have a happy life. Yes, we want our children to prosper. And yes, we want every single Canadian citizen, Indigenous person in Canada to prosper, as well as worldwide. We can help everybody in their own countries with their minerals, their natural resources, instead of giving it up to through these shenanigans and these mentally disturbed people in our government making decisions for us. And because they've been they've got maybe a gun to their heads. 22 in one country, 2,200 lawyers and justices lost their licenses for not working for the government, for defending human rights. Is that what we're waiting for here? The lawyers are already not standing up, because they've been brainwashed to think that international law does not matter, and it does matter. And yes, Canada can be taken to account for this. But the lawyers, by ignoring the CPU and helping us, are aiding and abetting this criminal government and every criminal government beforehand. If you think conservatives are okay, well, we need to talk to every single one of them to make sure they're not tied to Stephen Harper. They're not tied to the Mulroney agenda. If everybody knew the truth about Mulroney, you'd be shocked. None of these political parties have helped us. None. We, the people, need to help ourselves together. We need to stop the jealousy, the well, I don't like that person, so we need to stop the cancel culture that has been imposed on us, and that we even use ourselves. Oh, I don't like that person, so I'm not going to do that. Or that person, I like that person, but they said one thing that I disagree with, and now they're BS. Not everybody's going to have the same opinion as you, and we need to respect that. It's like the MAID. My mother witnessed one of her friends, okay, who was so tired of being sick that she chose MAID. There was nothing that was going to make her better. And that's what made her decide that. That was her choice. Whether she suffered through it or not, we'll never know. Do I agree with MAID? An injection, if you're sick all the time, I wanted to leave. I want to leave this planet, because there's only so much you can take of pain. And when you make that decision, but what stopped me was universal energies. A doctor that wouldn't give up on me. A doctor who listened. So here I am. And would I go and apply for MAID? Hell no. Because I know I can make myself better in other ways. But at the time when you're in constant pain, you don't think like that. You just want out. You want the pain to stop. No matter, for me, it was like, okay, an hour, another hour and 45 minutes. If don't get this surgery, I'll be dead. What's another hour and 45 minutes? I've been like this for years. Bring it on. I wouldn't have cared how much pain I was going to go through. Bring it on. I'll tough another hour and a half and then bye-bye love. But it didn't work out that way because it's not supposed to work out. For me, it wasn't supposed to work out that way. Okay. And everything went. Do I believe in the universe helping out a little bit? Oh, yes. But as long as you help yourself, the universe isn't going to do it for you. That'll give you a helping hand. Okay. So anyways, I'm going to leave you with this. And we all have to help ourselves. Please join the CPU. Spread the word. Get everybody you can to join so that we can actually make a real difference, because without the people, we can't make miracles happen. Okay? The people are the miracle. Now, if you see yourself as a possible miracle there for everybody, go to the cpu.ca, sign your Citizens Convention of Consent, join the CPU. If you've got money issues, we can work around that. Just send us an email. But we need to be able to survive. Freedom it isn't free. And we all need to do our part. So thank you very much. Have yourself a great rest of the week in this sense that you know that you can be the miracle for everybody. For everybody. And we can learn from each other and move on in a better Canada and a better world together. Have a great day. Bye-bye. I'm just going to leave you again with another little video. And on our way out.
Dive into 2024 with the CPU's dynamic campaign, set to energize Quebec and Ontario by reaching 75,000 homes with our empowering message. Every contribution you make is pivotal, driving this ambitious initiative forward and ensuring our information lands directly in communities via Canada Post. We extend special thanks to our dedicated CPU members, whose grassroots efforts amplify our reach. This campaign is your gateway to being part of a significant movement for change. Whether you choose to donate or volunteer, your participation is key to our success. Join us in making 2024 a victorious year for collective freedom and community action with the CPU.
And we'll be back in French in about 10 minutes. On va revenir en français en à peu près 10 minutes. Merci. Au revoir. À la prochaine.